Hello, this is a quick tutorial on how to build a map using Microsoft Excel, specifically for our needs for this week in week 7. So if you've never built a map, Excel is a simple and easy tool to do so. I just simply go up here to Insert, find my shapes. Mine are this small little icon here, click it. I'm going to need some boxes. So I click a box, and then I'm just going to draw it right here. Now, I'm going to come over. I don't want to vertically align to the top. I want a nice and neat middle center. And remember, our blue boxes were for our solutions. And it has to be spelled right. There we go. That's kind of small. I want it a little bit bigger. So let's see what it looks like at about 16, 18. That looks pretty good. So our solutions are going to be blue. I'm just going to Control C or Command V, whichever uh, you use. Come over here. Now our next color was going to be yellow, and that is a bright yellow. So you can obviously choose a different color, but I'm just going to change print to black. And this was no longer solutions. Now that we're yellow, we're mechanisms. And it stays in the same place. I'm going to Command V again. Instead of solutions and yellow, we're going to go to green. And remember, our green was traits and emotion. So the blue is going to be the solution that we came up with. Now you're going to have multiple solutions here because you may have mandatory training, feedback, all sorts of different solutions to come to a successful end from your scenario. So as you put it up, we're just going to talk about one right now. So let's say solution. So I'm going to just Control C, Control V, because now those down there, those boxes down there, now those are like my master boxes, so I never have to make any more again through this whole thing. So let's say one of them was mandatory training. So you required, whatever the situation was, we required mandatory training. Well, what are our mechanisms to do that? Okay, so Control C to copy it, Control V, or the old command. So the mechanism, so is it going to be, so in our case, let's do it online. Okay, where is it online for them? Is it mobile? Online / mobile? Yeah, let's make sure it's mobile. Okay. Who's going to build it? Okay, who's going to, is it going to be a buy? How's it going to be built? We need to know those sorts of things. Okay, now when we start getting big here, we can simply highlight and let's shrink our text a little bit so we can keep everything there. We'll do about a 12. Okay, who's going to build it? Once we know that, and then how will it be to access? So how long is the training? How long will it be? How long will it last? And when will it be available? So now in reality, you would have the answers to this. So who would build? So let's say, okay, I'm going to have mandatory training for all employees. It's going to be online or mobile. It's going to take 1 hour, and it's going to be built by company X, and it's going to be available in 2 months. Okay, so the mandatory training. Now, what's going to need to lead up to that mandatory training? Well, now that we have a nice solution here, we may need some things like basic marketing, basic strategies, because there's a 2-month gap. So we're going to get into that in a second. But here, we need our traits. So what traits, believe it or not, your online learning can even have traits that make it more usable, more relationship based for the user, because the users actually build a relationship with the criteria and with all the curriculum that you build. So what's traits of a good online learning program where it's self-paced and can be done on its mobile? Well, you know what? It's going to be interactive, and everything else and the emotions that we hope to evoke from this are going to be, let's get this a little bit smaller so we can put several in here. Okay, the emotions that we hope to get from that are, make that nice and big. Okay, we're gonna, hopefully by the time they leave, we're hopefully gonna have them feeling some sort of empathy because there was an issue, so we want empathy. And what else would we like to have for this course as they leave this course? They, along with the empathy, maybe they'll be able to gain perspective, so a larger perspective. So it just depends on what you want to get, what you want to focus on for that emotional push, depending upon the scenario that you have and the case that you're actually working. So what that may be. So that's how you build a map. And then if you need an arrow, so let's see, so after our mandatory training, everybody's gonna do something else. Just draw an arrow. We have our arrow, click our solutions box, copy it, paste it, boom. What comes after the mandatory training? Then there's going to be feedback sessions maybe. Okay. And then, so now what would go next? So underneath the feedback sessions, the mechanisms would go in there. We're going to copy and paste that one. So what are some of the mechanisms that we need for feedback sessions? Guess what? People need to be trained on that. That was probably part of the mandatory training there, wasn't it? Could be. So now we have trained managers and they deliver feedback to employees. Small. And how often are they going to do that? Let's say on a monthly basis, and then until something occurs, what they would like to have. Oh, I lost my master block here, but that's okay because we had one, so we'll move it here. So what are the traits that are good for feedback? Traits are things like clarity, trustworthiness, and what are the emotions that you want that employee to leave with once they leave there? Hopefully you want them feeling empowered. You want them feeling focused, goal-driven, things like that. So now, obviously, when you do it, you're going to put a bit more thought into it, and your lists are going to be longer. This was just kind of show you how to create that simple map that we're using here for week 7. So just blue is going to be your uh, you're going to start with your blue with your solution, then you're going to move to the yellow, which are the mechanisms that are going to help that solution work, so the requirements, and then the green is going to be the traits and that will make this happen. So the traits, in other words, in our case, we have traits of our curriculum, and in feedback, we have traits of our people or people giving the feedback, and then the emotions that that employee or that person taking the training or receiving the feedback will leave with. So think of them from a customer basis, and when you do, just remember the three steps that we did here. We started with our mandatory training, went into our mechanisms, and then we went into our traits and our solutions. So that is how we make the map that we're using for week 7. We're keeping it simple. There's many more difficult maps out there that can be made, but we just have a limited amount of time together, so we want to start touching and start building. And the main thing this is doing is this is driving us to think from many different perspectives, but it's also trying to help us think from that perspective of how it emotionally moves that person and how we can have the best effect for what we're doing. So have a great week.